What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff with Living in Arizona, and today we are going to talk about the subject of police brutality in Arizona. Some of you guys have heard about Arizona, Phoenix in particular, Phoenix and Tucson making national news for basically being a hot spot for police brutality against people of all colors. This is not just one color in particular. As a matter of fact, if you go right here onto mappingpoliceviolence.org, you can see that Phoenix is number 2 in this statistic of major metropolitan police killings, okay, from 2013 to December 2017. Phoenix is not the largest city in America. It's not the second largest city in America. It is, I believe, number 6, but it does appear number 2 here. And so it's just behind Los Angeles, which is far larger than Phoenix. Now, you can see in the red is black, in the orange is Hispanic, in the gray here is white, and in the purple is unknown. So you can see they don't just necessarily single out any particular race. It's pretty much unbiased killings by police officers. Now, before we get too far off on a tangent, I do support law enforcement, and I know that they have a tough job. I know that when you come into contact with a person who is violent and they are not cooperating because they are drunk, or they are not cooperating because they are rebellious, and they put their hands in their pocket, what is the officer to think? They want to go home to their family also. All right. So in some of these cases, there has been body cam revealed. Now, I'm going to tell you guys who are watching this, first thing is, if you do encounter a police officer, no matter if you're having drinks or if you're whatever it may be, you should comply. Some of you are going to say, well, I don't need to comply, this and that, if they come onto my property, blah, blah, blah. I highly recommend that no matter what you do, when you come into contact with a law enforcement officer, you comply. Okay? And this can work both ways. There can be justified police shootings, and then there can be police officers who clearly were in the wrong. And we're going to review this in this video because it is a sore subject, and Arizona actually came onto the radar for this because some cops, not all cops, okay? Not all cops are bad, and I don't even think the majority of cops are bad. I think the majority of cops are good. But that does not mean that there are not rogue cops in these departments who really kind of glorify the idea of being a hunter of humans, and they just are waiting for their opportunity to act on that with the right situation. And those guys, they're out there looking for an opportunity, and when they put things on their gun that say they want to do that, well, that you should be able to put 2 and 2 together, okay? And so we're going to look at some of these cases, but you can see right here, and if you want to know rate of police killings per population where Phoenix ranks, you can see Phoenix is right here in the top 10. So it's not just, that has to do with 2 things. One, there are a lot of bad actors out there on the streets that these cops are having to deal with. Okay, no one wants to use their gun. I would like to think that's a cop, but sometimes they have to. But as I just said before, I guess some do use their gun, but they're operating under the presence that they don't want to use their gun that day, right? So let's go ahead and talk about this. So here's New York Times. This is obviously not an Arizona-based publication, but they're calling out Arizona law enforcement, saying how Phoenix explains a rise in police violence in the civilians' fault. It's the civilians' fault. That's how Phoenix is blaming it, right? So all Marco Zepeda, a 44-year-old blind man, wanted to do when he went inside a convenience store last June was use the bathroom. But as he tried to find his way, the police report said Mr. Zepeda had the misfortune of walking near a police officer using a urinal. Thinking Mr. Zepeda had come too close, the officer pushed him. According to his account, they scuffled. Mr. Zepeda was tackled after he threw a punch. The officer said, "You just don't turn around and start punching me like crazy." Mr. Zepeda, a father of 4 who sells brooms from a pushcart, says on the video that captured the aftermath, "I didn't know you were a cop." Okay, So you get the idea that there's these different stories. Sometimes cops are fidgety. They're on edge. They don't know if someone's going to come up and try and assassinate them. And this is a problem in our community, in our society, is where cops could be just sitting at a convenience store and someone comes up, starts giving them a fuzzy eyeball, and then the cop is all of a sudden the prey to some predator out there who just hates cops. So cops automatically get on edge because they hear about these stories where they're getting assassinated. So it can get a little bit tense, but you can see there's stories like this all throughout the department. Now, as I said in this video, I do support cops, and they have a tough job. That's for damn sure. And not all cops, most of the cops are good. Not all cops are bad. But here you go. So you see here on ABC 15, a local news station here, September 25th, 2018, saying, "Are Phoenix police officers the most violent in the country?" So Noelani Groff, she basically had to write this article up. Violence involving police officers is at an all-time high in Phoenix. Now, one group is calling Phoenix police the most violent in the country. The anti-police group Justice That Works is a grassroots nonprofit dedicated to ending mass incarceration in Arizona. The group is highlighting how Phoenix matches up to the other cities that have become synonymous with gun violence. By the numbers, the 38 officer-involved shootings this year, the Phoenix Police Department is the deadliest force in the country. That's this year, or that was in 2018. So those numbers I showed you from 2013 to 2017, number 2. This time, 2018, number 1. So that says something. And I will say this, and this is what's prompted me to really finally make this video. I've watched some of these body cam videos, and they are bad. We're talking trigger happy cops. And I don't like to say that, and because that's scary. That's scary for all people. I mean, I'm not, and as a matter of fact, I shouldn't really be injecting my opinion, but they're bad because bad outcomes came from them. But a couple of these that you can watch, there was one here, Arizona officer kills teen boy with replica gun. Okay, first assumption, without even watching that, you would say, well, you shouldn't have had a replica gun. Okay, well, if you check out the body cam footage of this one, you can check it out, the case. I'm not going to give too much opinions on this, but I'm going to give you some that will open your eyes to what's really going on the streets out there, and you can make your own decision. It's bad because someone passed away, okay? So you can see there's Jacob Michael Harris. He was killed. And then there was a, what is this, Sandra Gonzalez, the boy's brother, Jason Gonzalez. What's his name? I'm trying to get the teen's name. Anyway, you can check it out by officer kills teen boy with replica gun. That's basically what you would type into Google. Check out the body cam on that. You decide if that was justified. But I'm saying it was kind of a gray area, and I'm concerned for public safety after watching how easy it was for some of these cops to pull the trigger. I am sorry if that offends any police officers, but we have to call balls and strikes both ways. I do not support criminal activity, people out there creating domestic disturbances and that are a threat to society. But I also do not support cops who are actively, aggressively pursuing reasons to use their lethal force. And I say that because, wow, some of these cases, you might call that into question. And yes, it does seep over into our law enforcement officers. So you can see peaceful Phoenix rally turns tense when march pushes to freeway and police use pepper spray. Okay. As you know about Black Lives Matter, this has been a big thing where black men in America have been taken out by cops in some situations where lethal force was definitely not, which should not have happened. And you can watch the videos, okay? In some of these cases, there was excessive force used. And you could see, here was one, this one right here, Mesa police subpoenaed in federal probe involving ex-officer Phillips Brailsford. I just watched this one. You can watch this one. This was at a Mesa hotel. He was a pest control guy. He had a so he had a pellet gun, and he was showing two girls in his room how he takes out vermins, rodents and stuff like that, because he was a pest control guy. He was staying at the hotel in Mesa. And so, because when he was showing them how he does it, he was putting the gun out the window, which is not a good idea, right? So the cops were called. Well, when the cops were called, there's a body cam footage of this one, and you might want to check it out because, yeah, it's being called into question. The officer was acquitted. He was let off, and some people were upset about that. So this one was called into question. It made national news. I'll let you guys decide. I'm not here to be judge and jury, but he was let off. And the next one, there was a couple others, but you guys want to know, and I'm telling you that yes, Phoenix has been brought into the limelight on this one. Overall, my experience with police officers in Arizona, well, I haven't had much experience with police officers in Arizona, and I like to keep it that way because, I just don't even want to encounter cops because it's not something I'm looking to do. And I would hope that none of you have to encounter police either. Because cops probably don't want to have to encounter you either. They probably would like to keep the peace. But I don't really have much opinion on this. I can say that if you read the news and you look at these articles and you look at these cases, you can form your own opinion about it. But overall, yes, I would say that if you watch some of these videos, you can see some of them maybe not so much gray area. But if cops are getting off, you can share your thoughts on this. I don't really like this subject. You guys were asking what's going on with police brutality. I don't like it for two reasons. One, I don't like the fact that cops have to be the bad guys here. And two, I don't like the fact that people are getting killed, especially if maybe this circumstance did not require that person get killed, because what if that's your cousin, your uncle, your brother, and you almost have to think to yourself, what if that cop is your cousin, uncle, or brother who is, in a sticky situation with a bad actor and they get taken out, right? So it's two sides to the coin. But I think overall we do have a problem with crime in Phoenix a little bit, and some areas more than others. That's not to be scared to move to Phoenix. We're living in Arizona, but it is just something to keep an eye on. I would say your best bet, follow the rules, obey the law. If you come into contact with police, obey. Do not talk back. Just obey. If you can, Obviously, it's a speeding ticket. You might challenge it, but what I'm saying is, if they say put your hands up, okay? And